I call this regular meeting of the Village of Villa Park Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Roll call, Calvert.
Here.
Hofstra. Jackson. Lemieux.
Here.
Ludke.
Here.
Orlowski.
Here.
Romano.
Here.
Schlinsky.
Here.
I too am present. With that, we have quorum. First item we have here is approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
I'll make a motion for approval of the minutes.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Anyone have questions or comments on the minutes or the motion? All in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. We have 3 items of business tonight. Let me just run through how the process will work for each one of those. We will start with staff presentation and then move to presentation of the petitioner if they have one, if they have something to add beyond what staff adds. And then we'll have public comment or questions. That would be the time where if you either want to comment in support or opposition of a project, or if you have questions about a project, you'll come up here, state your name, and try to keep your time to about 3 minutes. And then we have closing comments from the petition, questions from the commission, closing comments from the petitioner, if there are any, discussion up here, and then an action if we need one this evening. So if anyone's planning to speak this evening, I would ask that you rise now, raise your right hand, we'll get you sworn in real quick. Otherwise, I'll have to swear you in individually later. So if you think you're going to speak, if you're the applicant, is that it? Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you will give in these public hearings is the truth and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. All right, so the first item of business is PZ 2410 for 1116 North Princeton Avenue, variation for side yard setback, petitioner Mohammed Yaqub. Yeah, so staff will start, and then you could stay seated for now. Yeah.
The applicant tonight is requesting a variation for a side yard setback. The home is a single dwelling residential in the RS 7.5 district. They're requesting a variation from table 2-3 of Article 2, Section 2.3 for lot and building regulations of the zoning ordinance for a required minimum side yard south setback. I'll go over a summary of their request, allow for any comments by the petitioner, allow for any questions from the commission, returning for commission discussion and motion if appropriate. The home has an existing open stairwell on the south side of the property, which is shown on the left side of this drawing, with an interior side yard setback of 5 feet to the exterior of an open stairwell. The petitioner wishes to enclose that stairwell within the setback. That open stairwell is permitted to encroach into the side yard setback if it remains open. However, the enclosure of that stairwell means it is encroaching now into the side yard setback by 1 foot. No other changes are proposed to the roof line of that open staircase or the remainder of the residence. On the drawing on the right, you can see the section of the home in red is the area requiring the variation. On the right-hand side of the home, there is a legal non-conforming setback on that side. That's not up for discussion tonight. We're only requesting the variation for the section shown in red. On the screen are some of the architectural drawings that the applicant submitted, showing that they would be adding a door and then enclosing the open stairwell with windows and walls. The roof structure would remain as is. Also provided on the screen are the variation standards to consider this application against. We will hold a public hearing, and then staff has provided a sample motion, and with that, staff or the applicant can answer any questions.
Okay. All right. Is your last name pronounced Yaqub? Am I saying that right? Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything you want to add to that? If you do, just come up to the mic and we'll give you a few minutes. And for the court reporter, the last name is YACUB.
Yeah, the only reason I want to do this is for the safety. Right now, there's an open staircase. So what happens during the winter season, the snow falls there, and it becomes very slippery. And you had few incidents. In fact, once I fell down.
You had what? Three incidents?
Yeah. Once I fell down, I hurt my back. And we had also few maintenance people who coming in, and they almost slipped and fell down. The main reason for me doing this for the safety.
Okay. All right, thank you. We may have questions for you, but if you want, you could sit right there for now and we'll let you know. All right, any public comment or questions on this agenda item? All right, seeing none. Questions from the commission? Anybody?
Was that little roof and columns that was existing that was there when you, that originally from the house, is that correct?
That was up there when it was.
Okay, got it.
When did you start the construction of the walls and everything?
It was Jan of this year.
Okay. Because, yeah, most of it's already constructed.
Okay. Right, any other questions?
Is this the only access to the basement in this house?
This is one of the main entrances to the basement, and we have one entrance from this side, it's kind of a small. So when a lot of maintenance people come in, we have a space with the water heater broken up, so they have to take it from this side. Another thing is, my son lives in the basement, and these are.
Who lives in the basement?
My son. He lives in the basement, and he uses that entrance a lot.
Jason, I only have one other question. Will the exterior wall treatments be consistent with the rest of the house? And will the windows also be consistent with the rest of the house so that it complements the?
Building that's staying, there's the house, the windows.
Okay.
All right, any other questions from either end? No. All right. You have any final comments before we move to discussion and a vote up here? Okay. All right, discussion. The only thing I could say is I don't know that I've seen a residence in Villa Park with a basement entrance like that. I mean, I've seen walk-in basements and bungalows like mine, but off the side is not one I've seen much.
And this is original to the construction of the house, is that
Right.
from 2006, 2007
The
period?
foundation is.
It's there, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
And there was an addition to this side, was that permitted, and is that within
That's what
code?
he's asking for tonight.
No, not the enclosure, just the original lean-to. When was that? That was added at some point.
The original what?
The lean-to from the
What is
house.
it called?
lean-to?
Kind of a lean-to.
It's a roof.
Correct, lean to.
Was that permitted? And is it conforming?
The roof and the stairwell are allowed encroachments in the side yard. The wall is not.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like the roof addition was sometime after 2013 and before April of 2015.
Sometime in that era,
Yeah,
based on pictures that I saw.
yeah.
But there is access to the basement from the interior of the house. Like every other house that has a basement.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, if it's quick.
So even I have a contractor who does snow cleaning during winter. And he,
Who does the snow?
I have a contractor who doesn't clean the snow. And he even refuses to clean the snow in the space. This is very unsafe for him. My main argument here is for the safety. You know. One of our main reasons of buying this house was we had this private entrance from the outside. And now after buying that, we found that it's not usable for most of the time.
When did you buy the house?
2030?
Okay.
13?
Yeah. And one more thing, the variation is not 1 foot. It's like 0.6 inches.
It's not 1 foot, it's what?
0.6 inches. I'm sorry, 0.6 foot.
Huh?
0.6 foot.
0.6. Yeah. So just over half a foot.
Up, little more.
Yeah.
I think like Jason, I'm familiar with this concept of the exterior point of ingress and egress being on what is considered the rear of the house as opposed to the side of the house. And in addition, I'm also familiar with those being fully enclosed with a roof, lean-to, pillars, and then fully enclosed, whether it be by solid material or some kind of, vinyl with a screen so that there will be, open air space. But
Right.
to the petitioner's point of safety, I do understand that as well. There's only so much that a handrail can handle when you are using that as a point of ingress and egress and not just an occasional once or twice up or down the stairs.
Yeah, like my stair off the rear is technically open air, but it's enclosed on 3 sides because it's under a porch and it has concrete, I'd call them knee walls, but they come up above your shoulder because the property depth. And I know that even with that can get pretty tricky because snow blows in and melts and
I mean, given the current status of the structure that exists with the lean-to, and just the request to kind of close it up and fully enclose that with a door to petitioner's point and enclosing in the walls, I don't really struggle with this one. I'm pretty much in support for this one. It's not across the whole length of the house. It's a de minimis area.
Okay, it's not
down here.
additionally encroaching, it's already, the footprint's already there.
Right, and I'm also, and if it's accurate, that it's 0.6 feet, is that accurate, Mark, from your documentation and that you're,
Yeah, that is correct.
that could technically fall into an administrative adjustment with or not?
It did.
It did?
However, there was a letter we received in opposition or with
Got it.
questions regarding the application. Thus, we could not approve it administratively, and that's
Understood.
why it's before us tonight.
But by the description of an administrative adjustment, it could have
It could have.
fell into that category. It was that close of a,
Yes.
Yes, we ran it through that process and
And
We received opposition, so that ends that.
Was that opposition the neighbor to the south?
No.
It was not.
The opposition has since been removed
Okay.
after additional clarification, but we kind of go back.
Oh,
Yeah,
It was not an adjacent neighbor.
well, that's helpful to know. Okay.
I have one more question, and that is there an area well drain at the bottom of that stairwell?
There's one drain.
Okay, do you know, I hate opening up this can of worms. Does that drain into the sewer or into the sump pump?
I think it goes into the sump.
Okay, which, if it went into the sewer, it would still be all right if it was enclosed. So it would be another hardship and another reason to grant, the variance, so.
All right, unless there's additional discussion,
no, I don't have anything.
somebody wants to make a motion.
I'll do that. To recommend approval of PZ 24-10 for variation of Table 2-3 of Article 2, Section 2.3, Lot and Building Regulations of the zoning ordinance to reduce the minimum interior side yard setback requirements to 5 feet along the south property line as described in Exhibit B for 1116 North Princeton Avenue.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded by Commissioner Romano. Is there any questions or comments on the motion to approve? No. All right, roll call. Calvert,
Yes.
Lemieux,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Orlowski,
Yes.
Romano,
Yes.
Schlinsky.
Yes.
I too vote yes. With that, our recommendation will pass the village board and they have the final decision on this matter. Thank you. Good luck. All right. So our next item is PZ 2406 for 600 North Villa Avenue, annexation, special use, zoning map amendment, variation, and plat of subdivision. Petitioner Tomas Rezian.
So 6, right?
Just a quick point of clarification here. Is this 06 or 02?
Yep, we just noticed that as well. Hold, please.
2.
Yeah. It is 2.
Okay. So just to clarify for the record, this is PZ 2402, not 06, as noted on the agenda. So we're correcting the agenda.
Jason, would you like to make an amendment to the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Just to amend the agenda to read PZ 2402. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The agenda is amended. Okay, staff, whenever you're ready.
Yes, so in front of us, we have 600 North Villa Avenue, which includes annexation, as was noted, plat of subdivision to take everything into a single lot, the existing incorporated parcels and the future to-be annexed parcels, a zoning map amendment rezoning the newly annexed property to the M1 district, which is contiguous to the existing already zoned M1 district, a special use for outdoor storage of materials and vehicles, and a variation for parking in a street yard. As you can see on the building, down here, it's existing. They're not proposing to reconstruct or anything. Building footprint is staying, and then we are, through site design, you'll see, we're redoing parking lots, and since we're moving them so much, we figured let's get that variation tacked in so that you guys are okay with it. If not, then we have to go back to the design drawing board. So, up to you guys, but we wanted to get that on there. So Chair, if you wanted to open the public hearing? Yeah.
Yeah,
Good?
it's open.
Excellent.
Yeah. We're open.
So real quick, it's an existing industrial building. They're proposing some interior and exterior remodels. That's under a building permit. No zoning requests regarding the building. As I pointed out, there's the 4 unincorporated parcels along Manor. That is what is to be annexed. The plat of annexation is the village board approval. You guys are having it for the courtesy as part of the bigger project. You don't have to approve the annexation. Special use for the outdoor equipment and material storage is over the entire property. And then the anticipated end user, which I'll let the petitioner get into a little bit, is a national headquarters for a contracting company. Existing site photos. This is off, looking straight west from Villa Avenue. And we have the site plan. So this is all single lot, if we get it into one. Manor is on the north, Villa is on the east. One entrance, as opposed to the existing double entrance. Then the office and administration parking lot wrapping the building. And then a gate at the end of the drive aisle to the entire paved rear parking for the material vehicle storage. It is completely enclosed by a fence, and that we have a stormwater feature at the far northeast corner of the site, intersection of Manor and Villa, which actually will soften, because you'll have landscaping, a stormwater basin, natural feature at that intersection, putting some separation between the roadway and the material storage and vehicle storage. Let's see, and we got the landscape plan up next. Yep, so there you go. Then highlights here, this area, stormwater basin. Trees, shade, evergreen combination, the entire north and west property line. And then along, and so, yep, native stormwater basin mix in the stormwater area. And then we also have enhanced stormwater feature in this corner with additional landscaping wrapping around the entire parking lot. Yeah, and then you can notice we have increased our parking lot landscape islands as required by code. There's a little zoom in. So obviously the dot with the circle, all our shade trees. The little jagged ones are our evergreens, and continued throughout. The smaller circle ones are ornamentals. So at maturity, your shade trees have a canopy 20 to 25 feet, your ornamentals are at 10 to 15. So you get that staggered look at full growth. And pretty colors if you want to use this. This continues down Manor, same treatment, and then down, making the curve down Villa. This is now in front of the stormwater basin, as you can see. And then this is even further south. This is a tiny little stormwater infrastructure, but still landscaped. And then there's the existing signage in here, which will have landscape requirements around the sign itself, separate color. And then as you can see, the plat of annexation is just the 4 parcels on Manor. And then the plat of subdivision is everything, a single lot, with a handful of easements that are needed to do stormwater pipe to get everything to where it needs to go on this location. That's what all these lines are. But it's a single lot subdivision. And we have the standards for zoning map amendment per 11.2.9. Standards for the special use, 11.4.8. And then variation, standards, section 11.5, which you guys are all familiar with. We've drafted a sample motion, and if you will, I'll turn it over to you, Chair.
All right. Is any presentation by the petitioner tonight? Anything to add to that? You're good? Okay. Comments or public comments or questions? Yeah, just please come up one at a time, state your name, spell your last name if you could.
James Holub, Holub.
And then if you have specific questions, just, direct them to me, and then we'll just have
Sure.
petitioner or staff
Looking
answer them all
at the
once.
way the landscape is everything going to be coming in? Well, entrance and all that's still gonna be coming off of Villa? Or are you gonna be coming in off of Manor? Or everything will be backed up to Manor?
Everything's off of Villa Ave.
Okay,
Right here, sir.
Off of Manor.
okay, so everything right now, currently, the way it's always been laid out is gonna remain the same?
Yes, sir.
So then everything that was, you got, those extra parcels that go up to Manor will pretty much be your back end of the property, so to speak, on the north end? Okay. Then the other question was open material truck. I mean, is it gonna be like just a storage yard? Or you've got a proposal for, the question was a national company
Yeah, and
coming in?
the company's Rose Paving, so this would,
Oh, okay, so they're gonna be coming in then with,
they're gonna have equipment that they will be.
and storing stone and sand and whatever they need? Is that kind of what the,
I don't know
Oh,
exactly.
okay. Okay,
Mainly cars and trucks.
yeah, okay.
Nothing else. No stone,
No semis like there were before,
No.
semi dumps or
No.
low boys coming in heavy equipment? Okay.
Real quick, is this, could you just give your name real quick and yours too, so the court reporter has it? I could see it.
Laporte?
Lepore, Lepore.
Then,
and that's gonna be hard. Tomasz Rzędzia.
okay,
Sorry.
that's the applicant's name.
Oh, the
Yeah,
RC?
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Do they, so is there gonna be any, debris stored on the property, like crushed asphalt or
Not like
concrete?
what they had existing. Schroeder was there. and was the
Yeah.
operator. And that's one of the things we're trying to do with this, that we're trying to clean it up. Schroeder had his piles of gravel.
Yeah,
creating
yeah.
these spots, and I actually worked on this deal to assemble all the parcels. The two ladies that live there, I have pictures from what Schroeder was doing, and all the dust that was.
Well, and it is, Villa was, it's been cleaner now with the road dirt, but still, it seems like there's more traffic coming down Villa than there was before. But, okay, that was my concern, if anything was gonna come in off of Manor. And then you got it all the way to the end then, from Manor to the far west, where you got your property line, and then it's going to the tracks? Because you still got somebody in the back end, don't you? A renter, is that gonna be there, or is that yours now?
No, it's either they're gonna stay or there's gonna be a new tenant.
Oh,
there.
okay, okay.
Still up in there.
Oh.
And that's B3.
Oh, V3 's still there.
B or B?
B.
All right, that's all, that was my concern. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, if you will, just for clarification, on the site plan, you can see that heavy-duty pavement is marked everywhere within the fenced area. The dust concern that's happening right now is one reason why we actually put this on the site plan. That gravel is not allowed, asphalt grindings is not allowed. It has to be a hard, dust-free paved surface.
Okay. And then, just to clarify one point, oh, go ahead, I'll get to my question later, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, my question can wait, honestly. It's a very technical question, so if you want to just state your name and,
Carrie Osing, Carrie Osing, O-S-I-N-G. C-A-R-R-I-E. And I am across the street at 644 Villa. Have several questions, actually. I was thinking there was going to be a fence. I thought we were told there was going to be some kind of a fence. This looks like just trees, not a fence.
There's a fence.
How high is the fence? 8 feet.
Site plan shows 8-foot chain link inside the landscape area.
And what about lights? It's really bright in our windows right now. I'm wondering how much extra light there's going to be.
Currently, the plans do not include any changes to lighting.
And then what about noise? When are these vehicles going to be coming and going from this facility?
It'll go to business hours, standard business hours.
Standard business hours? And no large equipment, you said? Cars, trucks type thing, not like,
No semis, no semis.
and no,
For
and,
grows, they don't have any
okay, nothing like big dump trucks?
semis. No.
Okay. And I'm wondering about the trees. What size trees are you planting? I know you said at full growth they'd be fairly large. What size are you planting?
Or staff might be better equipped to answer that because they've reviewed the plans, so.
So
You got it? Go ahead.
the deciduous trees are proposed at a 2-inch caliper. The evergreen trees are proposed at a 6-foot height. The ornamental trees are also proposed at a 2-inch caliper.
And that's at planted time.
So
And
we're,
then they grow to their full size.
so we're talking 5 feet?
2-inch could be like a half a tree.
No, they'd be taller than
Yeah.
that,
Okay,
definitely.
okay,
And the evergreen would be 6 feet to the top.
okay. And I'm wondering about extra cars and trucks being on Villa. It is unbelievably crowded there, with trains, with traffic. When I'm getting home from work some days, I'm backed up to North Avenue. It's a concern. It's a big concern, especially if this is a huge parking lot where there's going to be a lot of cars. Something to think about. And we're talking about a basin here, on the right side of the map, on the top, correct? Is this like a pond or just a drainage area? I'm concerned about mosquitoes.
You're concerned about all mosquitoes?
I do live right across the street from that. Right across Manor.
It's, stormwater detention
What is your name?
Dwight Trostle, Trostle.
And you're with?
I'm with Pinnacle Engineering Group.
Say your name again?
Dwight.
Okay. And you're with Pinnacle Engineering Group? Okay, thanks.
So the bottom will have wetland plantings in it for the county requirements.
Okay, so it won't be like a pond, it'll be more like a wetland. Okay.
Actually, that, just to do a correction, that is more of a berm in that southeast corner.
It got inverted.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a berm in the southeast corner. All the stormwater detention goes up to the northeast corner into that pond. Oh. So the retention, the existing.
engineer of
It is
the
a
site is
pond.
correct.
There was an Yeah. existing stormwater detention area there now, but just the way everything laid out, it worked out much better overall together with the location.
Well, that existing one's down further.
It's
To the
not
south.
going to be
Yeah, what-
one. It'll be a,
That is
Just
correct.
real quick, what the applicant is saying, or the applicant's expert is saying, is that the pond at the southeast will become more of a mound, as opposed to a pond. It won't be a detention anymore, and there will be detention at the corner of Manor and Villa, at the southwest corner of the intersection, northeast corner of the property. So if you, yes, your house is directly across the street from that pond that's shown there, yeah.
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 We'll have an improved view. The-
Well, I kind of like the field right now,
It-
personally. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, I have a couple of questions for staff. One is, we're tying this to Exhibit A. Is that the entire package? Or is it the site plan?
Exhibit A is the plat of annexation, Exhibit B is the plat of subdivision, and Exhibit C is the site plans, engineering landscape plan.
Okay, so we're not tying any of this to any specific plan, if you read the motion? Because it just says Exhibit A, I believe.
It says
Oh, wait.
everything.
It's
A, B, and
parsed
C.
out.
It says, as shown in Exhibit A.
Plat of annexation, Chair,
Oh,
on
okay.
the screen. Plat of annexation for A, plat of sub Exhibit B,
Oh.
zoning map amendment, special use and variation for all Exhibit C.
Okay, that's different than what's in the report. I mean, in our, the memo.
My memo has that language.
Oh, I'm on the wrong page. I went too far.
Oh, okay.
And then just below that is the exhibit list.
Yeah.
ABC.
Gotcha.
Outside plan engineering and landscape for C.
Yeah.
Good.
I was, yep. You got it, I didn't. Lighting.
Yes.
There was a concern about lighting. Lighting, existing lighting would need to be brought into compliance, or can we make that a condition? In terms of, at
Yes.
least at the perimeter?
Yeah, as part of the special use process, you can add conditions. You can add a condition if you'd like that all photometrics must be existing code. Absolutely.
The neighbor referenced the existing lighting, so what is the existing lighting that's on the property currently? What's bright? I mean, are they at the building, or are they around the perimeter, or? They're at the building, okay.
Or they're in the yard,
Got it.
yeah, within the fence line.
Understood.
Yeah, if you, So if you look at the site plan, if you see the two triangles in the large field, those are existing light poles?
So, Chair, those carry overhead wire.
Oh, is that what, okay,
We're confirming if there's actually a fixture on those or not.
okay,
There was a former building that was out there that has since been demoed,
okay.
which may be attributing slightly to additional.
Most of the lighting that I've seen on the building is the existing lighting from when Heinz Lumber used to exist there.
We do not recall any lighting from the property.
Just on the building, okay.
Confirmed. That's our same assessment.
Okay.
Just ComEd pole carrying overhead wires.
And if they're showing out, they're obviously shining in your family room.
Okay. This question's for the applicant. How many vehicles, like how many trips in and out do you estimate in a day? I'm not a number that I necessarily, doesn't have to be down to the vehicle, but are we talking 20, 50? Does anybody know?
It's hard for us to say, because Rose is going to be.
Okay.
And I know they're going to have to apply for special use, so they definitely be the guys to answer that, but.
Okay.
It's our understanding compared to a trucking company, it's going to be significantly less for them. Employees coming in and out, it's going to be their headquarters. So cars will be going in and out, but in terms of large vehicles, we expect to do that, to low traffic.
I'm not sure about the count, but that's gonna be trip in the morning. We're gonna go out and then come back
So one trip per vehicle.
If there are other questions up here, I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, the questions are, and I couldn't find this in the package. No, so the use is going to be Rose Paving. Is that, there's 4 units, how many units will they be
They're
taking?
going to be in, there was a picture early on that showed the units. They're going to be in approximately 3/4 of the building, units A through C.
Very good.
And they should occupy about 2/3 of the parking lot. So we're hoping that B3 decides they want to stay on as a tenant. I know they've been there for years. They're pursuing a couple different options to own elsewhere. We should know in the next couple months if they're going to stay, but if they decide to leave, we're going to have Unit D, which is an 8,000 square foot bay with about an acre and a half of the outdoor storage remaining.
Okay. I was also concerned because they said that there were no plans for disposal of materials or for, dumpsters or anything.
Yeah, I think staff has a comment on
You're
that.
referring to the trash enclosure?
Yes.
Yeah, the exact placement of that has not been cited yet. That'll be a permit issue, so the appropriate location will be obviously permitted, and then that'll be tackled when they actually know what they're doing with their interior building model.
Very good. And I wanted to clarify, there will be no environmentally hazardous or contaminated loads
Correct.
allowed on that. The plans did say that it was an 8-foot-high fence with 3 strands of barbed wire. I guess the village has to clarify
Yes.
if barbed wire is legal.
In our industrial districts, it is. The fence as proposed, it meets the ordinance requirements. And there's no variation or special use request regarding the fence.
Okay. It seems like security must be an issue if there's 3 strands of barbed wire, and just wondering, are you going to add security cameras as well?
Up to the tenant, yeah, but I assume, yes, they will.
Okay.
There's existing cameras on site now.
Okay, well, they would have to expand it into the new parking lot, if there's a concern, I would think. And you would want that for the neighbors, I would think. I did have a comment on the, well, I had a question on the truck traffic. I as well, I'm one house off of Villa Avenue, but I'm way down on Highland, and we still experience the traffic down Villa because no one wants to go down 83. Everyone wants to go down Villa. And just wondering, the equipment that Rose uses, can it go, is there a plan by Rose to go and utilize North Avenue for their heavier equipment? Usually there's lowboys with paving machines and rollers that Rose Paving would have. Have they discussed that at all? If they're planning on going south or they're going north?
I think that depends on the where they have to go, so.
Okay, let me ask the village. Obviously, we're not interested in having residents down on Villa south of St. Charles. We're not interested in having heavy equipment going by on a routine basis. is, I do believe, just one block south, they say truck traffic has to go, I think it right before Moore Brewery. And it's at that apartment, the new apartment development. Is that correct? Are we going to allow truck traffic, heavy truck traffic, south of St. Charles?
So this user and this petition will not change our truck routes in our municipality.
Okay.
So they will have to follow the same routes that all the other trucks have to follow in Village, either if they're headquartered here or not, right? Regarding traffic, it being an already existing industrial use with already traffic and proposing something similar, by way of just by annexing the 4 additional parcels did not warrant or trigger the need for a traffic study. And knowing that is one of the reasons why we cited the access to only be on Villa and not have any manor connections. So it is going on the roads that are warranted for trucks, Villa to north to 83, or Villa south to St. Charles to 83 if they so choose.
Okay. I had one other concern, and that has to do with the landscaping. Some of the wording I was concerned about, that they're specifying native plantings, which is the aggregate rainwater renewal seed mix. There's a lot of different types of that. And then there's also the no-mow lawn, and I'm concerned about maintenance. If you don't have to mow it, it seems to indicate you don't have to maintain anything. And I'm concerned about maintenance and how it looks. The no-mow lawn is entirely surrounding the site. And what there's also 4 standards that are mentioned, that pesticides, if it doesn't work, pesticides will be used. And we'd like we'd like environmentally responsible pesticides to be used.
Regarding the native plantings, they have to meet the stormwater ordinance. They actually outline which plantings you can and cannot use, and this has been preliminary reviewed by our engineering staff.
As far as the environmental soil, that should be tested before it's put down. Soil for topsoil should be tested. And
Yeah, through their construction, they'll have to be meeting all requirements, technical and environmental concerns. Yep. They're not asking for any waivers on construction standards.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Which includes any soil going out as well.
Thank you.
Is that all your questions?
That's all my
All right,
questions.
any other questions down this end?
No.
Questions to my left?
Can we circle back and get a little bit more detail on this fence? So I'm looking at page where it says, the bottom here, 123 of 164 of the diagram. So, Mark,
Yep.
where is this fence? And it's going to be an 8-foot chain link fence. Is this going to surround the entire perimeter of this property?
It's right here.
Yes. Yes, so starting at the proposed swing gate. So if we're coming
5 feet off of the
into
parking lot.
the site in a vehicle and you make a left in the parking lot, if you keep going, there's a swing gate.
There's going to be a gate.
Yep, so starting at that location, that's behind where all the trucks and vehicles, the secured site. Following the dark black line, which is a curb, there'll be a fence just outside of that. And that's the 8-foot fence which then comes down Manor,
Uh-huh.
around back south, wrapping the site, back down around until you get back all the way to the building again.
Okay.
And then at the other end of the parking lot before the north side of the building, there, the fence gets picked up again, back into the gate. And then on the landscape plan,
So the gate is right there where your cursor is right now?
Correct.
Right in there, okay.
yeah, so this is a straight fence down the line, and then it just follows that curve all the way around.
So we're really not going to see a chain link fence?
Right.
My question is from Villa Avenue.
Correct, because we also, now that we have all the landscaping is on the outside of the fence closest to the property line.
Okay.
So all that landscaping is in front of the fence.
Okay.
Yep. And that's, again, all the way down and around. Not so much here because train can still, we protected this home as well as all of Manor. Took it all the way down to the corner.
I wasn't sure of the fence, exactly where that was going. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Any other questions down this way? No? That all for questions then?
Yes.
All right, any closing comments from the petitioner? No? Okay. Discussion.
I like the site plan. It looks great. I think the only thing that we could add, if we wanted to, would add something for lighting. Other than that, I think they've went above and beyond. As far as landscaping, they've definitely improved the stormwater detention area. I think it'll look very nice.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Orlowski that I would like to see a standard added that the lighting needs to be in compliance with the photometrics, which,
Photometric section of the zoning ordinance.
yeah, just probably not going to be a problem since more lights are coming out than going in, but I guess this comment is probably as much for staff as it is the applicant. To keep in mind that the sidewalk is also a bike trail here, and that's the connection to the Salt Creek Trail. And I assume that that's the area where the proposed Villa Avenue improvement is on the west side, as I understand it. Is that
That's
accurate,
correct.
staff?
Mhm.
Yes.
That was taken into consideration
Okay.
on our review.
Okay. So just to make sure that that intersection, that apron design and sidewalk flares that might occur and all that are bike path friendly and pedestrian friendly.
I just got one other question. So on the landscape plan, so I guess when I'm looking at it, the northeast corner of Villa and Manor, that will be open, and that's gonna be your storm retention area now? Stormwater retention?
That's correct.
So that's just gonna be an open parcel?
Yes. Yeah, that area will be open, native plantings, landscaping. The fence is actually all to the west and southwest of that.
And that's just in one parcel right now?
I hesitate to call it a parcel because I don't know if it's technically a parcel in any land, in any, it's one portion of the property that will be open, yes. Yeah.
For context, just if it helps everybody, the homes that were recently demolished are here and here, here and here. The fence that is existing out there right now is approximately right here.
At the overhead wire line.
So the field, as we spoke about earlier, is about here. Okay? Which is for context, right? Yep.
Yep. Any other discussion? Deep. If there's no other discussion, then I would entertain a motion, preferably with the condition related to lighting, unless there's objection to that.
No objection.
Getting you there.
Would be a condition to the special use.
Yes, it would be.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of PZ 2402 for plot of annexation per Exhibit A, a final plot of subdivision per Exhibit B, a zoning map amendment from residential single dwelling district, 10,000 square feet RS10 to light industrial district N1, special use for outdoor equipment and material storage per Exhibit C, with all photometrics being brought up to applicable code, and a variation from section 7.6.1 to allow parking in a street yard per Exhibit C.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? All right, roll call vote. Calvert,
Yes.
Lemieux,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Orlowski,
Yes.
Romano,
Yes.
Shalinski.
Yes.
I too vote yes. With that, our recommendation passes to the village board. Thank you. Good luck.
Can I ask you a question? Not regarding this. Who's got jurisdiction on the K5 property?
K5 project.
County?
Keep it
Yes,
property.
because it's right over there.
Oh, the asphalt?
Yes.
That's unincorporated, that's Elmhurst, I believe. I can
Elmhurst.
tell you right now, hang on. This is K5, yeah.
Over here.
Oh, really?
If you haven't been there, you should head over sometime.
It's an outward, I didn't know if it's because they're up the times they have.
I think it's,
I think it's Elmhurst.
Elmer Stone, is that what we're talking about?
It's on the east side of Villa.
DuPage Materials.
Yeah.
Is this on?
This is not on that public hearing.
Sidebar.
It's sidebar. That's unincorporated DuPage County.
Yeah, not a.
Okay.
If,
So I would have to go to town.
if you think of the unincorporated area to the west side of Villa,
I'm directly.
these two properties that are just talked about here are kind of a connection on the barbell to an unincorporated part on the east side of Villa. So that would be the county. Yep.
Who controls the mound? Okay, thank you.
The mound is the county.
All right.
Maybe someday it'll be Villa Park. Okay. Our next item of business is PZ 2409 for 330 East North Avenue, special use, petitioner Omar Fakori. Good. And I saw we had a couple people come in who weren't sworn in, so if you just stand, I'll get you sworn in real quick. If you think you're going to speak, just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give in these proceedings is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thanks. All right, staff, when you're ready.
The applicant tonight is seeking a special use for a cannabis facility in the C3 zoning district. That would be a special use per table 6-1, which is the use table. I'll go over a summary of their request, allow the petitioner to make any comments, allow for clarifying questions from the commission, returning for commission discussion and motion if appropriate. As mentioned, the petitioner is requesting special use approval to open a cannabis dispensary within the existing multi-tenant building. The existing building currently includes an automotive use, a vacant retail space, and the proposed cannabis facility. The petitioner also proposes to modify the parking lot with associated landscaping to bring the parking lot up to code and also do a renovation on the facade of the building. This location is located more than 1,500 feet away from the next closest dispensary in any municipality. On the screen is a picture of the prior tenant, which was Bargains in a Box. And then the applicant is proposing to make some site modifications, as mentioned. The applicant would be including parking lot islands to make the parking lot compliant. The parking spaces are all at a compliant dimension along with all of the drive aisles. The applicant would be removing the wall that's along the western property line and installing landscaping along that property line along with a trash enclosure. The automotive tenant, which has the northeast corner of the site, the parking spaces would be restriped to have a vertical orientation. Currently they're at a diagonal, and then there's additional parking along the fence line. So this would make that section of the parking lot more compliant as well. This is just a little cleaner view without all the dimension lines to see it a little bit clearer on the screen. And then I have also included a floor plan. You can see in the right-hand portion of the screen, there is a vacant tenant space which would allow for another tenant in the future. And then they are proposing to do architectural modifications to the building, including repainting and then adding an Ichiha element to the main entrance. And that element would also be added on the east facade as well. They have provided architectural renderings showing that renovated appearance. And then, as mentioned, we are getting some additional landscaping both on that western property line and then within the parking lot islands of the parking lot. They have already created their signage plan, which would include new panels within the existing pylon sign, and then new signage for the tenant on both the south and east elevations. On the screen are the special use standards from section 11.4.8. We also will hold any public comments, and then staff has prepared a sample motion if appropriate. And with that, we can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does the petitioner have a presentation for this evening? No? Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing no one, we'll move to questions from the commission. I have one quick question I think I just answered, though. The parking in the northeast portion is changing to 90-degree parking from angled parking, correct?
Correct.
Okay. It's just, I noticed in the landscape plan, it's still angled.
The landscape plan, that modification was made after the landscape plan was complete.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the landscape plan, so I didn't ask for a new plan for that.
Yeah,
However,
and I noticed that.
on the site, the plan shown on the screen right now is the orientation that the applicant has.
Okay. Yes, that's what I thought when I looked at the dates. I just wanted to verify that.
Can we go back to this slide? Yes, that one. In the easement in the north there, are we going to still continue parking tow trucks there?
When you
Outside.
say easement, what do you?
Yeah, just north of the parking lot right now, on the north,
Oh, yeah.
very north side.
Not promise on the sketch here, but currently there's an easement, but it's a 10-foot easement off the property line, which is quite a way north from there.
Okay.
There's not going to be additional, there's no striped parking that's, it's supposed to be green space, but it's not being used, obviously, correctly at the moment. It will be striped accordingly, 90-degree angle, and have the 12 stops. Maybe.
RAMID?
MIC.
Anybody else have questions? Eric?
Can we get rid of the billboard?
Yeah.
Please? Please?
Yeah.
My goodness. That was a little sarcastic, not particular to the petition.
I'd like to see the pole sign go away and have a monument sign.
So, Mark, to that point.
Is that
what
a
the-
question or a comment?
I mean,
We
are
can
monument
discuss.
signs, I mean,
So the existing pylon sign could remain as long as no structural changes are made to that sign.
Got it.
The applicant is permitted to replace the panels within that until such time that the sign is not of useful life anymore.
Right.
At that time, the sign would need to be removed and a compliant sign design, which would be more monument in style, would need to be installed.
Or we can make that a requirement now.
Can we go to page 147? Oh, okay. I'm trying to make sense of this then.
Front
Your pages-
elevation.
Your pages would be different. The rendering of the building, yes, thank you. So knowing that the unit to the vanilla boxed unit, damn it, to the east, that is, potentially open for a separate occupant. The proposed rendering shows that, the middle is very much advertised for the proposed cannabis dispensary. Is there an intent to then modify that to advertise for whatever comes into the east section, and if so, where?
Correct, so Brian,
yeah.
Brian, B-R-I-A-N, Gould, G-O-U-L-D, BR Design. Correct, so that east side would have its own signage for that tenant. There's still remaining square footage for that tenant to be utilized for their signage.
Is the intent to put the signage on the building or?
Correct, yeah, it
advertise
would go on the building.
Okay.
Yes, just like any other storefront, it'd be above their,
And the primary
centered.
entrance, though, is under the brown/brick.
Yeah,
area
there's
where-
multiple entrances.
The bricked area where the words mint cannabis currently exist?
Yeah, there's two entrances there at that location. One to the west, double doors to the west and double doors to the east.
Yeah, the double doors to the east are the main
Yep,
entrance. for the
correct,
east
yep.
Lot.
Yep, but the look is to create one single monument, just to give it some appeal.
Okay.
Yep.
So for clarification, what you see is allowed. They're not asking for any sign variations or special uses. And what he said is technically correct. There is square footage available for another tenant. It is very small, 3 square feet. Technically accurate. It is for them as property owners to deal with that, and we have noted that, but everything is compliant, and they're not asking for anything.
Sorry, what is the square footage?
3.
Is what?
3.
3.
3 square feet of additional signage.
For a future tenant.
Oh, for signage, not, okay.
Correct. For signage.
But-
Everything he said is accurate. I just want to make sure that the number, because we're talking about it, is 3 square feet, and staff has noted.
Sorry, when I interpreted square feet as in the actual usable space of the unit. Signage.
So-
Thank you for clarifying.
So, yeah.
But also to
Tenant.
clarify, they're not applying for signs right
I'm
now.
not.
Correct.
So
Also true.
they
This
could
is-
reduce
this
the
is an
size of their
additional rendering,
signs.
so we all can understand what they're doing, but
They
once
could.
a permit gets issued, that's when we really
I'm,
lock it in.
I'm thinking beyond the current application of how we treat the potential tenant that comes into the east with regards to planning, not necessarily zoning.
Completely with you.
Yeah, and so if you look at page 143, Justin, you can see how the entrances work.
I understand
Okay.
about the entrance. I
Yeah.
was asking.
No, I just
how we're
was-
gonna advertise for
yeah.
the potential business.
Yeah. You could see how they're proposing the space be broken up.
Oh, yeah, and that's why when I heard 3, it didn't compute based upon the renderings that I had.
Yeah, available leasable square feet was just over 3,000. 3,050 square feet is available for lease in the vanilla box.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a quick, if you could, just one, handful of AC units on the ground floor around the edge. Are those existing that are sticking around?
Those eight, so
It's like the
our goal would
condensers.
be to get rid of those and provide rooftop units.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to look into that to see what.
Still in the design phase on your end?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, but yes.
But those are currently existing
Yeah.
that serve the,
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
currently there. Yep,
the ones mounted up on the west side as well, too.
yes, correct.
I have a quick question. Is there a cross-access easement between the property and the property to the west that's preventing sort of closing that, that portion of the west property landscape area?
No, the only, Ram is with, I don't know, I can spell my last name, it's pretty long, but it's D-A-B-A-B-N.
Z,
No, D-A-B-A-B-N-E-H. And I'm with RBD Associates, the civil engineering firm.
it's the same company, right?
Different company.
Different company.
Oh, okay, what's the name of it?
RBD,
R,
B,
B as in boy?
correct, D is in David,
Uh-huh.
Associates.
Gotcha. Can't read that far, but gotcha.
There is no current easements. The only easement that's, per the plat, is the 10-foot easement, utility easement on the north side of the property line. Nothing on the west.
So that area, I'm sorry, so that area up on the front, I mean, is that something, Mark, you understand what I'm asking? I mean, so what,
There's a landscape buffer that.
I understand, but I'm talking about the front end where there's no landscape buffer, and you could get to the adjacent parking lot over to the west, right? Like, is that,
Just come through.
So, a cross-access easement would have to be coordinated with the adjacent property owner.
Correct.
Cross-access between. Operationally, the adjacent property owner is a used auto dealer who traditionally parks a vehicle at the end of that location to prohibit any cross-access.
that's fine, they got cones there based on my Google Street View, right? But at some point in time, it's like, we're doing work.
If they were coming in as a joint, I would be completely on board with you. The adjacent property owner has not asked for anything at this particular time. Maybe we'll catch it later, but
Well, I'm kind of suggesting to the petitioner that maybe we extend that unless you don't mind, like, the potential of people crossing.
So I would, looking at that curb flare in aerial view, at some point in time, that functioned as a single drive.
Conceivably, yes, most likely.
I mean, a consolidated project, whether it was consolidated or not.
Yep.
And that could have been IDOT trying to reduce the number of curb cuts. It could have been all under common ownership. I don't know historically, but
There's a drain that's being, I guess, draining out both sites. So I guess Our site and their site are both.
Yeah, it looks
along that west property line on our side.
Was it drain sort of straddling the
Yeah.
property line?
See,
Right at the end of that depressed island.
if you see the island, there's a little square
Yeah, I
just
see that.
north of
Mhm.
Yeah,
it.
that
You can
ad-
see it in the aerials.
Page 141 of the packet. You zoom in above the Call Julie stamp, existing storm manhole at the rim, and it's in green.
Yeah.
Now, that is an IDOT, and there's also, if you follow up further, existing, catch basin. Existing catch basin with the rim elevation, and that's just at the 89, 48, 27.
Right.
Rim elevation?
Mhm.
And what are those numbers, 89, 49, or whatever? Is it all one
89,
number?
48, 27.
Is that all one number, 89,000?
89 degrees, 48 minutes, 27 seconds.
Yeah, that's the angle of the property line. but
Right.
The rim elevation is, if you need it, 679.57.
Yeah, we don't. Excellent. The truest statement ever, yes.
Yeah, so that is obviously in the center line of two
Yeah, it's right,
access
it's right
points,
there.
one for each property, so, yeah, that's
We don't want to close
as
that off.
designed, shall I say.
Yeah. Thinking about,
I think the intent is for water to drain off into that.
Yeah, I understand the intent of what's happening there. Thinking about a property owner, I'm just sort of projecting onto the, the petition and what we're trying to do. The idea of sort of the potential for free access across that, somebody might not like that or whatever.
Are you
Just bringing
looking-
it to your attention.
Are you looking for a cross-access easement to be put on this property to pick it up for when the next guy comes along, that we can put it on their property as well and then have true cross-access?
I don't know.
Or are you looking to restrict it and say, you know what, everybody has their own access off of IDOT? I don't know.
I'm bringing it to the petitioner's attention to have that conversation amongst themselves, and if they want to prevent that or facilitate that, how they want to sort of work their property and have their property operate. It just jumped out at me, obviously, because I brought it up.
Yeah. The way the property to the west has their parking lot marked, the east is an in and the west is an out. They have them marked as one way. Whether or not it functions that way, I can't say.
Correct.
That was the old Kenny shoes.
All right, are there other questions? From either end, anybody?
Just a point of clarification, is it fair to say that that entrance off of Villa is predominantly for the towing business on the back end?
correct.
That's their,
Yep, correct.
it looks like they got a fence sort of too, is that what it is? That's sort of
Correct.
back there, that sort of cordons off that area between the front and the back?
Yeah, there's a fence with a gate.
Yeah.
and, During day, it's open for traffic flow. In the evening, it's
Shuffling cars around as needed, yeah.
We tried not to really do too much on there, that we did get the parking readjusted, but we're not issuing a special use for that site, we're not diving into that. We tried to really rein ourselves in and not have scope
Understood.
creep.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
So, but we got the parking adjusted.
I think you'll get quite a bit of southbound Villa traffic. To anybody, dispensaries become destination uses for the people that frequent them, and if you're coming from Villa, that's going to be the easiest way, always. And if you're trying to go back south on Villa, that's the only way you're going to leave, because
Yeah.
you can't make a left turn out of there.
It's pretty congested. It's not something that you sort of navigate through that lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't get back there because there was a tow truck that was sort of shuffling a car around. I go, okay, I'm in the way.
So what do you anticipate your hours of operation being?
So
Could you, last name, please?
it's
Yeah.
Omar, O-M-A-R. Yes, it's on the petition for query. So 8 to 10 p.m. are the planned hours. That's what's allowed per state law, so
Yeah.
not outside of that.
Are you 7 days a week, 8 to 10, basically, that's?
Correct, correct.
Okay. And then, I've got a couple other operational questions. About how many employees do you estimate on at a shift?
About 10 employees.
About 10?
Yeah.
And, deliveries will, you're not expecting any large trucks, it'll just be Sprinter vans and?
Sprinter van, exactly.
Okay. And then during business hours, you'll have security on site?
Correct, yeah, we'll have a physical security guard on site, and obviously cameras across the facility parking
Yeah.
lot, yes.
And then overnight, you'll be relying on the security systems primarily?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all a requirement by the state.
Yeah, they're very strict with the security side, which makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Any closing comments from the petitioner?
No,
If you've
thank
got
you.
anything?
No, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion?
I'd like to see the pole sign go away.
The business sign one, that, the current, not the monument, not the billboard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sadly, the billboard is outside of our current purview. So just a heads up regarding signage. The height is allowed by code at 25, even if they put a brand new sign. The only thing we'd be getting rid of would be the pole. Monument is still allowed at a height of 25 in the zoning district on this road. So if you're trying to go for a lower scale, if you said meet code, it would still be it's 25 feet still large, right? So just wanted to put that up for clarification.
Looking for something that looks a lot better than what it does. I'm not a fan.
I don't think I would apply a condition, but they certainly could. Supreme Lobster up the road did a wrap of their pole sign. We've had a few that have done that. So, something to consider. But I don't think I would want to try to condition something like that. Any other discussion, comments from the commission?
I just had a quick question. In your presentation, you alluded to the 1,500-foot sort of number between, we're clearly over that number.
That's a state licensing requirement.
Yeah.
And the state deals with that.
Do municipalities have the ability to override that and make that bigger? Just out of curiosity?
So our code mimics state statute. Section C under the cannabis says, number 2, no special use may be granted for any location that is within 1,500 feet of another dispensing organization. Right now.
Yeah.
Another dispensary organization?
Yes.
And at the state, there's been some, originally there was an assumption that it was a race to be for that distance, but I don't want to say they've loosened it, but it has more to do with what applicants, when you apply rather than when you
Right.
get the shovel in the ground. In the beginning, everybody thought it was going to be when you got the shovel in the ground, so everybody was racing. That slowed down a little bit. Municipalities do have the ability to put restrictions on them related to, I believe state law says sensitive uses, so schools, things like that, Chicago says 500 feet of a school,
Yeah.
for instance. We don't have anything like that on ours.
As a non-home rule municipality, we cannot be more restrictive than the state statute.
Well, the state does allow all municipalities to restrict. I believe. I could be wrong on that. We don't have that ordinance, so it's irrelevant. It would be,
Also true.
that would be a different discussion, but
At this time, they comply.
yes.
Completely, yeah, and it helps, I'm just thinking about it globally, big picture, comprehensively, what's going on, right? We have one that's further down on the west towards Addison, essentially, and then this one's on the east, right? I mean, they could be conceivably further apart from each other, but not quite, right? I mean, not much more than they currently are, the one that's,
Yeah, they're
right, they're as,
on the other ends of our
Exactly,
municipality on
right.
North Avenue.
Right.
That's correct.
so the potential could be two more in between if we have petitioners that are beating down the village hall's community development's door, right?
We could have one more in between.
Let's say one more in
We
between.
could have one more in between based on the spacing of the one that's already been approved and operational.
Because I'm measuring 4,500 feet, so that's fine. I mean, that's,
Yeah, so the 1,500 can overlap, right?
That's what he said, 4,500.
Okay. So if you put one in there at 1,500 and 1,500, I can't.
you're saying it's 3,000 then between,
It's
Yeah,
It's,
one 1,500, another one 1,500, and then the third, so.
oh, so it's only 3,000, so there could be none in between.
with the existing one at 305 West North Avenue.
Exactly.
The proposed one that's in front of us right now, if approved, we would have the availability for one more dispensary on North Avenue based on the 1,500-foot separation.
Between them,
only one between them.
Only one between.
okay, because I'm measuring 4,500 feet between them.
No, that's accurate.
Correct.
But you have 1,500 from this one, 1,500 from this one, but this one circle is 3,000 feet.
So in other words, it's 3,000 feet between.
No, it's 1,500, but.
So the 1,500-foot circle of one
Can't
another
touch.
can overlap, because it's 1,500 feet from another one,
I understand.
and that's the same
Oh, wait, yeah.
1,500 feet.
That's math, yeah, we're arguing a nuance that's irrelevant right now.
At a later date, I can show you.
Yeah, I'd love to, right? I would love to see your math. But if I'm 1,500, if I'm,
Eric, I'm following you.
It's 4,500 feet.
I believe that listen, I think it's just under a mile between the current dispensary named Greenleaf and your proposed mint cannabis. If you're right in the money at 4,500, I agree with you. You could likely put Sandwich 2 in between there. Do I want to see
No,
four
exactly.
dispensaries on North Avenue? Absolutely not. No. I think, and I struggled with this, I'll be honest, I struggled with the planning element of having a second cannabis dispensary on North Avenue. I understand that this petitioner is looking at the true east boundary of North Avenue, and Green Relief is pretty much as close as we can get to the west end. I'm inclined to move this forward in the petitioner's favor, with the, just knowing, putting it out there for this commission. I would not be too favorable for a third cannabis dispensary special use allowance on North Avenue. And I defer to the petitioner and their business acumen that they have determined that this is a business savvy decision to put it within a mile of Green Relief, and potentially draw in the eastern clientele from Elmhurst, whom does not allow dispensaries.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, would someone make a motion, please?
Make a motion to recommend approval of PZ 2409 for a special use for cannabis facility as shown in Exhibit A located at 310 through 320 East North Avenue.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? All right, roll call. Calvert.
Yes.
Lemieux.
Yes.
Lutke.
Yes.
Orlowski.
No.
Romano.
Yes.
Schlinsky.
Yes.
I too vote yes. With that, our recommendation passes to the village board. They're the final decision makers on this matter. Good luck. Does anybody need a break?
No.
You're good? Oh, you're leaving? Okay, that's.
Why, do we have something else going on?
So I'm good. Don't take it personally.
We won't.
It's been long days this week. Lots of planning.
Wait, have you come back tomorrow, or are you on recess for until next week?
Let's take a 5-minute break real quick.
That sounds fine.
We are back in session. So the next item on our agenda is review of vision, goals, policies, and land use memo for the comprehensive plan.
Josh Sherman, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you to PZC for having me, Chair and Commissioners. Really appreciate you having us here tonight and to get the chance to talk a little bit more about this important project and the current stage that we're in for the project. So tonight, I'll go through these pretty quickly, and feel free to interrupt me, ask any questions that you want to have. Give you an update on the planning process. I want to review the vision statement. You all should have a memorandum that looks, something like this. I want to review the vision statement and goals that are found in there, the land use influences and the land use plan or framework. And then I want to touch base quickly on next steps and let you know where we're going next in this process. So again, got a 6-step process. We are firmly rounding the corner out of the sort of middle section of the overall planning process and getting into the final third here. So you're reviewing the plan visioning and key recommendations, and then I'll get into this a little bit more, but we also have made significant progress on the sub-area planning. We had a working session with staff today. So we're in that define where we want to go, and we're getting into the roadmap to get there, parts of the overall planning process. So for the vision statement, what is a vision statement? When we talk about a comprehensive plan, as you know, we're looking out, it's a long-range planning document. We're looking out about 2 decades. What would we want the village to be like in 2045 or so? At the core of a good long-range planning document is an aspirational vision statement. It sort of takes in what we've heard from the community, from leadership, from staff, from all our research and data analysis and review of past plans and studies, and the in-person workshops and online tools that we've deployed, and distills it down into an aspirational and visionary statement that forms the goal forms the center of the comprehensive plan. It's lofty, and then there's goals and recommendations that start to fill in how are we actually going to achieve that lofty vision. So again, this is long range, it looks ahead 20 plus years, and it's based on community feedback. I think it's cut off a little bit on the screen. I'm just going to read it from my copy here. Over the last century, this is the vision statement that we've drafted and reviewed with staff. Over the last century, since its incorporation, the village of Villa Park has experienced growth within its population, economic base, and geographic size to become home to nearly 22,000. Over the coming decades, the village will continue its tradition of providing high-quality housing, commercial and retail areas, regional connectivity, municipal services, and amenities. The village will provide a range in its housing stock that welcomes and attracts people in all stages of life, ensuring anyone can call Villa Park home. The village will promote and support its commercial corridors to grow as regionally recognized activity centers known for its year-round activities, local businesses, diverse commercial offerings, and cultural events. The village will connect housing stock, commercial corridors, and local amenities through a multimodal network, giving residents the option to comfortably walk, bike, drive, or take transit. Known as the Garden Village, Villa Park will provide superb recreational spaces while strategically expanding offerings to ensure all residents have access to green space. Villa Park will offer a unique experience and a sense of community for residents and visitors drawn to its picturesque neighborhoods, attractive retail areas, high-quality parks and recreation, first-rate school system, and diverse cultural offerings. So I guess I'll pause here and see if anyone has any feedback, but if we were to stop here and say this is done, you would all say, well, how are we going to do all that? That seems pretty, a lot of it is about continue to do what we're doing, but some of it seems pretty lofty, aspirational, and we're going to need the tools to get here. And that's exactly what the goals and the recommendations and ultimately the plan document itself should help the village do. So I just want to take a quick kind of temperature of the room and see if you feel like generally based on your review so far, and what you heard, does this sort of capture the direction that you would see Villa Park going over the next couple decades?
Yes. As a lifelong resident, I'm going to say, let's go. That sounds wonderful to me. Yes, I'm excited when I hear that being read.
Good, all right. I'll keep going, and please interrupt me if you have anything else to add. So for goals, I like this image of a runner. I often mention that when you think of a goal for a comprehensive plan, you could think of a personal goal of a 6-minute mile, for example. I personally am now 40 years old. I have 2 kids. I'm not running and exercising like I used to. There was a time when I could get close to a 6-minute mile. But that for me could still, a 6-minute mile is an achievable goal for a human being, of course, and it's something that I personally could still start working toward. I could start to take actionable steps to work toward that 6-minute mile goal. I could start eating more healthy. I could start getting more rest. I could run every morning before work. I could do other forms of exercise and get myself back in shape. There's actionable steps that would work toward that goal, even if I don't ultimately achieve it. That's what these goals that fit underneath the vision for a comprehensive plan also should do. They should be things that are understandable, things that the village can take proactive measures to work toward. And so we've provided a set of goals that fit alongside the sections of the comprehensive plan. And I'm just going to go through those with you all. And in your memo, we don't have them on the screen, but underneath these land use or these goals that are associated with each core element of the plan, you'll find a set of key recommendations, and that's part of your homework, is to take a look at those, think through how they fit underneath the overall goal, and are those recommendations that the village and its partners can actually work toward to achieve the goal for land use, for transportation, for housing, for economic development. So the first goal for land use and development is to facilitate land use and development patterns that allow the village's unique aspects to flourish, with a range of complete neighborhoods, commercial districts, employment areas, and an emphasis on protecting Villa Park's Garden Village identity. And then you'll see a set of key policies for land use and development underneath that goal. For housing and neighborhoods, encourage the strategic infill and development of complete neighborhoods that provide a variety of attainable housing choices for people in all stages of life, from youth to seniors and from singles to families, and ensure access to key amenities, commercial areas, and personal services. That kind of gets at that concept of complete neighborhoods. For economic development, stimulate economic growth by placing emphasis on new small businesses, job creation, and creating experiential corridors that focus on creating memorable and engaging customer experiences rather than just selling products. For transportation, provide a safe and well-connected multimodal network that connects all areas of Villa Park and major destinations beyond, accommodating all modes of travel, including walking, biking, transit, and driving. Community facilities and public infrastructure, provide facilities, services, and infrastructure that meet both meet the needs of current residents and lay the groundwork for potential residents through continued investment and planning. So again, for each of these, you'll find a set of what we call key policies. And those, a way that you could start to think about those key policies are, we're almost starting to outline the content of this chapter. So for your community facilities and public infrastructure section of the plan, you've got your goal. And then these bullets underneath are basically the things that we'll be talking about within that chapter. It's not quite formalized into an outline yet. Some may be elevated, some may require more explanation or content within. But basically, when you review this memorandum and you provide your feedback to staff, are we basically talking about the 6 to 10 items under transportation that we need to talk about for Villa Park? Is there something that we're missing? Is there something that you feel doesn't quite fit? So that's what we'll want to see as you review as you dive deeper into this memorandum. Land use framework, and as a framework, it's the start of the land use chapter for the comprehensive plan. So a preliminary land use map and land use framework starts to describe the character of land use and future development, what you want to see where. It's based on existing land use patterns and context. I'll show you that map. I'll remind you again of the existing conditions work that we did. This will be a foundation for future decision-making for the whole community, whether you're a resident or a developer or a council member, but particularly for those of you in this room, as you review development proposals, you'll probably be looking at this land use map and referencing it as staff delivers reports on proposals to you all to review. And just a point of clarity, this is probably a little bit of preaching to the choir, but when we talk about a land use framework or a future land use map, in a future land use map like this, yes, there's colors on a map, but it's important not to conflate it with the zoning map. So a future land use map identifies those future land development patterns for Villa Park. Again, remember, we're looking out 20 years, so even though to a certain extent the village is primarily landlocked, there's only strategic areas where the village could grow outward, we're still talking 20 years. You know, Joe's Auto Body Shop could change hands and it could be a different use when we think about 2045. Zoning, as you all know, regulates what kinds of uses are permitted on specific parcels. You're talking about things like development requirements and standards, density, parking, setbacks, height, landscaping. Those kinds of things are what the zoning map actually regulates. Land use is policy, zoning is regulatory, it's local law. And then importantly, zoning should be clear and easy to use so that the community can implement the land use plan. So you may need to make some tweaks to your code after this comprehensive plan is adopted so you can use your regulatory tools to work toward that vision. We, in the 2024, earlier this year, existing conditions memo that we put together earlier this year, we did a program of existing land use. Our team did field reconnaissance and looked at the available data and put together an updated existing land use map. What's actually on the ground in the community? How is the land being used community-wide? Within this memorandum, we identified a few other land use influences. So what are the things we really need to consider when we're thinking about future land use for Villa Park? Importance of developing and redeveloping strategically. Again, not a lot of areas to grow outward. This isn't a rural farm town in Colorado where in theory you could go in any direction as far as you want. You're largely bounded by other municipalities and other jurisdictions. So you need to redevelop and develop strategically, think about infill, and there's more pressure in a community like Villa Park to get it right when development occurs. Transit-oriented development. Obviously you have an active and important metro station. There's some opportunity around the metro station to think through what that configuration around there could be. And regardless, TOD I think has sort of gotten a reputation for being these big dense buildings, but transit-oriented development simply means what's the development that's going to be close and accessible to the metro station. It can come in a lot of configurations. There is some opportunity for limited expansion in some adjacent unincorporated areas. And then there's also the importance of some of your major roadways, North Avenue, Roosevelt Road, Charles Road, St. Charles Road, and Illinois 83. So there's significant opportunity, and we're taking a closer look through the sub-areas at some of those key major roadways. So taking all those sort of ingredients, what we've heard, what we reviewed from the past plans and studies, our program of existing land use field work, we put together a draft future land use map. And I'm just going to review that with you all very briefly again. I'm going to just run through the categories. So single dwelling, most typical form of land use already in the village. The intent here would be to continue to preserve the character of what is primarily the land use in the most common land use in the village. allow a mix of single dwelling housing types in a neighborhood, and potentially allow in some areas for the use of accessory dwelling units. Multi-dwelling housing, these are buildings that are often, apartment buildings or condominiums. They're more intense. They already do exist in several areas throughout the village. This could be a typology that you would want to see in proximity to the metro station. They provide more attainable housing options, entry-level housing for young couples or people just starting out. And they can also serve as kind of a transitionary type of housing use between commercial and lower density residential areas. So very appropriate along some of the higher traffic corridors. Mixed use, when we talk about mixed use, we're talking about either a collection of uses, often with retail or office on the ground, retail on the ground floor and office or residential above. Sometimes there can be a mix of uses on a site, arranged on a site. Again, these can provide higher density residential options. They can maximize the development potential of a site. Again, you might want to see these in some of the higher traffic corridors and in areas like the metro station, which I failed to mention at the start. One of the things that we've proposed as part of this planning process is to start to identify some of these areas, the sub areas, by names, or sort of like brand them. So at least for right now, we're calling the metro area the Uptown District, and the Villa area the Old Town District. And those updated names are outlined on page 9 of the memorandum, if you'd like to take a look at those.
Quick point on that. If we're going to use those, let's get them out front early, because I had no idea what the Uptown District was, and I live here. So
Right, yes.
I didn't know what
Doesn't
Uptown
exist.
was till page 9.
This is the first introduction to this concept.
Yes.
And I get the idea of sub areas. I know will probably be addressed early in the comprehensive plan, but that was a new one.
Yep.
So.
After this same presentation, we'll go to the village board and we'll look for that same reaction. But the idea with that is that we don't have a downtown. When someone uses the phrase, "oh, go downtown," that means either nothing or everything. And so we want to actually take this step to move forward with not just, let's put in a comprehensive plan, but also we can go from branding and economic development as a jumping off point with these new names as well.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We worked in a community where their downtown was specifically called Uptown, and if you ever called it downtown.
Is it downstate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Missouri. But if you ever said downtown there, you might as well just quit your job.
You're referring to Normal, Illinois.
It wasn't normal, but.
Really?
No, it was in Missouri.
Oh. Normal Falls.
So there's another one.
Because Bloomington is downtown and Normal is uptown.
You grew up in a small town and you went uptown. You just went uptown. Didn't matter what part of town you were in, you went uptown when you went to.
That's how it was when I grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Uptown, St. Charles Road.
One thing that I'll just mention while we're looking at this slide is that, we're doing this process of sub areas where we're looking at these 6 key sub areas, and you all have already reviewed a memorandum on those areas. Talk a little bit more about those in a minute, but we have them identified on the future land use map, and we probably would carry that through the plan so you can see, and it'll sort of tie the thread. Even if you're looking at the future land use map, you can turn to the sub areas chapter and you can dive deeper into the St. Charles Road corridor sub area, for example. So we're anticipating that we might make some tweaks and refinements to these maps, but that we would keep the sub areas on every map. So local commercial areas, these are areas in proximity to the residential areas in the neighborhoods. Generally speaking, a rule of thumb for local commercial versus regional commercial local commercial, people from the immediate vicinity are going to use those areas to shop, buy daily goods, services, go out to eat. They're probably not drawing people from the region typically. They're not designed to do that. Everyday shopping and service convenience. Differs significantly from areas like your major corridor commercial that provide a more regional draw. These are your major roadways. North Avenue, arguably one of the most important corridors in Illinois that accommodates significant traffic east to west, and you're going to see some of your major commercial draws along a road like North Avenue. And these are typically configured along some of these major, north in Roosevelt in Villa Park. Industrial uses, manufacturing, storage, distribution. They're minimizing conflict with industrial and non-industrial uses. That's going to be important. There are established industrial parks and important corporate citizens of the village, and you want to continue to accommodate those employment areas over the long term while using the other land uses to buffer and continuing to find ways to mitigate industrial impacts, truck traffic, some of the things that you all were just talking about earlier in the meeting. Utilities, these largely are unchanged from the existing land use. These are going to be sort of like a maintain and continue and maintain your utilities and critical infrastructure, substations, things like that, that are going to continue to provide those important operations. And then public and semi-public, the community service providers, municipal facilities, local government uses. These are probably going to be schools going to continue as is over the life of the next couple decades. And then I believe lastly, parks and open space. Most of these are as is. We don't often identify specific new parks in a future land use map, just because you would want to be careful about it taking. There could be a recommendation in a plan for, especially for a more landlocked community like Villa Park, to strategically, as available, consider acquiring lots or parcels. If there's areas, we can identify areas where there may be a need for an additional park, and that could be an area for consideration. If a lot comes up for sale, the village might look to acquire it, but we wouldn't pinpoint a specific person's lot for a new park. So I guess any questions about that content and the overall content of the memorandum?
One thing that did strike me was on page 160, the intent of future land use, allowing for the use of accessory dwelling units. And I really recommend caution with accessory dwelling units. Communities like Oak Park have done a really nice job with that, but what can happen is they can become shacks, and we have to be careful how they're treated. You can, what I read that as is something like adding a unit in your backyard with full facilities. And what you do is you add a burden, a low-cost burden. It's something, it might be $100,000. It's addition, but it's a separate addition, and you have to add electricity, you have to add parking, you have to add sewer, you have to add water to all of that. And usually it's piggybacked onto an existing facility. And it also may impede drainage. you know, which is a very sensitive issue in Villa Park. And so I'm saying all of those things need to be looked at, and maybe it needs to be looked at as a variation. And I'm very concerned about just saying, well, we're going to allow the use of that. It's got to go through a strict permitting exercise.
Yeah, so our zoning code doesn't currently allow ADUs.
Mhm.
So any code to allow, this is just the comprehensive plan. So any code to allow an ADU would have to go through the same process as any text amendment to the zoning ordinance. It would be reviewed by us, staff would make their recommendations, ultimately approved by the village board. But yeah, it would be a multi-step process with public hearings and all of that, so putting it in this is more of an idea than an implementation.
Well, I'm actually trying to implement things like the review of 600 North, you know, Villa, you know, and having traffic come down Villa and then turn on St. Charles. And we're trying to close, or at least I think one of our goals is to, you know, to restrict heavy truck traffic like Elmhurst does. And so I'm actually trying to implement that, or I'm trying to bring that forward
No, yeah, I
with this
understand.
commission.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, that's why I'm bringing this up. I think we have to be cautious with this.
Yeah, and there's, it's not something that there's been a lot of done yet in Illinois. I mean, I know Chicago's just starting their program. We'll see how that goes.
To your point, everything that you said, I think is accurate, is valid concerns about ADUs. You're right about Chicago. They've done a pilot program, and they are costly to build. And I think they've seen only across all of Chicago, I think they've seen in the low double digits.
Yeah, and
but that's all the things that you said, just like you're saying, if there is a desire for ADUs as an additional housing option for people to secure more, to secure revenue out of their property, to provide a home for their mother-in-law, whatever it may be, those can all be regulated through the zoning code. You can regulate them, you can not allow them in short-term rentals. There's all types of things that the village can do to make sure that the ADUs are controlled in the way that you want to do them. So you can get the good stuff that you mentioned in Oak Park and not the bad stuff.
Yeah,
currently there's 12 municipalities in northeast Illinois that are allowed, ADU permitted, and then 2 that are being drafted for additional consideration right now.
Yeah. And I know, like, Chicago's ordinance, which I've been reviewing, they're basically looking for second-story units above garages, or units within, basically second units within existing single-family homes. And I know part of the reason is they're hoping to also bring into compliance a lot of those units that are already out there that aren't conforming legally. You know, coach house units and basement units in houses, and I know we have a lot of mother-in-law units in this town. Whether or not mother-in-laws live in them, we have a lot of them.
So,
which those are all legally, you know, probably non-conforming units based on how most of them are set up.
Right.
Yeah, so the ADU came up through public input, and it came up at the charrette, and we've been hearing it at the counter. We've been requested to do this already before the comprehensive plan came through, and village board members have expressed an interest in going forward with an ADU program as well. So all the concerns are there that would have to be drafted into an approved ordinance, and per the chair said, yes, that's a text amendment. So before even one could actually be approved, we have to actually amend the code to even allow it. But at the conversation I have with people that bring this up, it's the same idea as a mother-in-law suite that has been allowed, that people think they want to have, right? I would like to have the ability to have a mother-in-law suite, and that's just branding. Mother-in-law is not who's actually living there, is what we pointed out. Fonzie lived above a garage. It's the same thing, right? That's an ADU, right? A mother-in-law suite is an ADU. So once we make it crunchy and technical and throw some acronyms on it, we're just talking about as mother-in-law suites and garages above, or apartments above garages, which exist in this community, plentiful. They're just not permitted. They've been around since the 60s and the 70s, and they're just floating around. This is how we actually enforce the parking, make sure they do have a water supply, light, air, all the other good things. This is how you actually make it a safe structure in A-OK.
And I would guess in most of our mother-in-law units, or Fonzie units, if you will, there's been very little thought of life safety.
That's correct.
Right? I mean,
They become
most of the basement
fire
units
traps.
don't have multiple exits.
Yes.
Egress.
Or egress windows or
That's
those
correct.
things, so.
So if we, to finish it up, if we actually change the code and allow it and put a building permit process in place, we actually make it better for all the ones that are already there, because then we can do an annual inspection, just like a multifamily or the other things, no short-term rentals. You can add all those conditions on it if you'd like, but it actually takes the existing condition we have, acknowledging it, and then making it better. So that's why it's in the comprehensive plan draft.
Yeah, and I guess just for this whole memorandum, any content in here, like, we wouldn't just stop at, say, ADUs. There would be an explanation for what they are in the comprehensive plan, and this is just the start of the planning document itself. So we'd make sure that they're clearly explained in the benefits, if this is something that makes it into the plan, and then we'd clearly explain it in the document, so. Okay, so next steps, again, we're moving out of visioning and into how are we going to get there part of the overall planning process with sub-area plans, the draft comprehensive plan core elements or the sections of the plan that are going to align with those goals that we just talked about, and then getting into the draft and final comprehensive plan. So next steps, and there should, even before this, first next step is a bit of homework to PZC. Take another couple of weeks with this document. If you have any feedback, critiques, comments on this document, please get it over to the staff team. They'll get it over to us, and we will incorporate those into revisions. I think I said this before, everything that we do is in draft until this plan is ultimately adopted, and your feedback is really critical to make sure that this is Villa Park's plan. We will take this same memorandum, vision and goals, do pretty much the exact same presentation to the village board, get their feedback. Earlier today, this isn't really a next step anymore, but earlier today we had a sub-area working session with staff. We've already made some headway on those sub-areas, and we got a little more into the weeds over some work maps and went through each of the 6 to make sure that we know what ingredients go into those sub-areas. So we had a really successful couple-hour session today with our team, including another member of our team, as well as the core staff team here. We'll be working on the preliminary sub-areas and reviewing them with staff, and then we'll take them to this body to review. And we're pretty much on schedule with our updated schedule and looking towards actually reviewing some core elements based on this memorandum in fall. So that's where we're at. Again, project website's still up and live, and as we, after this is reviewed with the village board, we basically have the stamp of approval. We'll put draft content as directed up on the website and make sure that this process is open and transparent, and anybody who has any questions about what's going on with the comprehensive plan should be able to reference this and know exactly where we're at in the process. So again, if there's any further questions, I'd be happy to take them. Otherwise, I really do appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight and check in with you all and keep moving forward on this important project.
Does anybody have any questions? No, I did the homework in advance, so I'm very happy with it. Once I've had a little bit of time to sleep on it and go back to them again, might be some minor things, but for the most part, I think the goals and the everything as presented is I think what we would want, what we would envision. I mean, me personally, at least, I can't speak for everyone else, but
I appreciate the note with regards to the fact that while the village itself may not have any intent of taking property to expand upon green space, I do look at the last page with the future facing map. Just boy, did we as a village shoot ourselves in the foot with the lack of parks and open space that we currently have to work with. I mean, I'm looking at some of what you've noted, or what your firm has noted for parks and open space, and some of it is drainage retention next to a train rail. And yes, I'm not going to disagree that it's open space, but is it usable open space? Is it usable green space? No, it's not. And for the utility of actually having parks and open space for use of our residents, we have not championed that. So whatever we can do to progressively make that work in their favor, I'm full support of.
Yeah.
I would note that there were a couple of takings on, probably purchases, not takings, on is that Monterey that now have a multi-use trail running through them at Rotary Park. So it's a little thing, but for a while that served as nothing but kind of a mud hole where water maybe went. So it's a little step in the right direction, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying though, and I think there are a lot of opportunity there. I shouldn't say there are a lot of opportunities because there are very few opportunities to acquire open space, but there have been some, and there's some that I see and just watching as a village and being proactive when properties are up for sale and knowing where we would want to look.
Yeah, and sometimes just glancing at the map doesn't tell the full story either, because you are crossed by a couple, 3 major trails that connect to the regional system, which is something that definitely not every community has. So
yeah,
but yeah, absolutely something to consider, especially in a community that's more landlocked. It's harder to grasp those open spaces back after the fact.
This is just kind of a, if Eric and I have talked about this a bit, if you look at it's just a cool little thing.
Throwing me under the bus already.
No, it's just a cool little thing. If you look at some of the blocks on the south part of the village, they were originally platted with public open space in the middle of the blocks.
That is true.
Like to the east of Lufkin Park. Those lots are fairly deep. There's no alley, but they were platted with, if you look at the plat map, it's very, like the county's GIS, it's very interesting that century ago, somebody thought open space in the middle of these blocks would have been cool, but it never really came to fruition to be that way.
Yeah, almost all of that is now in private ownership.
Yeah.
If you go to the south end, they still have a few areas that have that on the southeast side of the town.
It's really kind of the blocks to the east of Lufkin Park and to the north of Lufkin Park. If you look at the county GIS map, you can actually still see remnants of how that worked.
They look like
It's-
H's, really fat
It's,
H's.
and some of those blocks down there, if you look at the way they were platted, along Ardmore, if you compare them to other parts of the village and you compare them, like they were designed to have alleys at the rear. And, if you look at where Ardmore falls on the grid coming west from the suburbs to the east of us, like Oak Park, I believe that originally somebody thought there would be multifamily, row homes, stuff like that facing Ardmore
Rear load.
in 1925. Much like the multifamily on the north side of Ardmore. I mean, the north end of Ardmore. But because of when this area developed, a little bit later, after 2 flats and 3 flats were kind of a dying thing, and it was all about the run for the single-family home.
It's vacated.
Yeah. There's just some really cool planning stuff in that area from a century ago, if you look at it.
Yeah.
The curving streets.
Right, yeah, yeah.
It's a very interesting part of town.
The rear load, the rear park is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Like a spin off of the square.
Yeah.
But not quite.
Right. So, I just find that fascinating. And these, it's just,
If only we could go back in time.
yeah.
Well, you could take that and go forward with it.
Yeah. Because some of those lots, the dimensions of some of those lots along Ardmore, the south part of Ardmore, and the width of the boulevard, I mean, it spoke to probably wanting to be a higher density 100 years ago than single-family housing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about high density, but 2 flats, 3 flats,
Yep.
row homes, things like that. All right. Any comments or questions beyond me yakking up here?
Oh, you just displaced me, but that's fine, yeah. All kidding aside, I brought it to his attention, so that's.
Yeah. If not, a
That's-
closing thing from you, are we good?
That's it. Just
All
want to say
right.
thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Excited
Appreciate
to
the
keep
work.
working on
and-
the next steps.
Yep. All right. Don't see anyone for public comments. Any updates on anything we need to know, Mark?
I don't believe so.
Ardmore project, how's that going? Train station?
They'll be on the next village board for a vote to extend the RDA. We're estimating 90 days, but it'll be up to the board if they want to go forward with that or make an amendment on the fly.
The village board approved the Bell Tire development at the last meeting.
It's true.
Okay.
It's the only big thing I think that we sent up there that's, we're waiting on the union.
Yeah, correct. Yep, that's correct.
All right. Any other comments or anything? Not? Motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.